disciples of Jesus look to the future. Listen to me, vision without action is merely a dream. Action without vision is a waste of time, and vision with action can change the whole world. He will speak to you. The question is, are you listening? Welcome to the podcast, everybody. Real strength. Are you ready to find some real strength? Because we're going to give it to you today. This woman right here and this woman right here, they got real strength.
Yes, we do. And I don't know if Mom has like this kind of strength because she's not really.
Have you ever done this? Have you ever made a muscle?
This is not Pick on Mom podcast.
No, it's not. And
Thank you.
Well, I'm just trying to get it rolling somewhere besides me because I'm outnumbered 2-1.
Thank you for welcoming
Thank
the
you.
podcast. That was nice. Normally I'll wait for me to do that, and then I mess it up every time.
Why don't
So,
you just do it again?
welcome to the Real Strength podcast, where we talk about real strength for the real you in your spirit, soul, and body. I nailed it.
Yay!
You got it.
Way to go, Bree.
Thank you. I'm excited about that. Okay, so we're talking about relationships. We're talking about health in your soul and your spirit on this podcast. But for a lot of people who've known you guys, maybe even walked through ministry for a long time with you, have really kind of heard the short version of your relationship story. So I wanted to dive deep into your relationship dynamic, the ins and outs of kind of where you started and how you ended up where you are now. And I really think this is going to take maybe more than one podcast to cover, because I want to go all the way back. But as we're making our way all the way back, pre-me, to get us started, what is your favorite thing, favorite strength, favorite regular habit, whatever it is, but that pops out to you about your spouse right now? So, Mom, you can go first.
Oh, I don't like to go first. My favorite strength about Jeff.
Strength, habit, just favorite thing that you just stands out to you. Like every time this happens, you're like, man, I just love that about him.
That I make her laugh every day.
Every day. He started several years
Were
ago.
you going to say that?
Trying to make me laugh
Several.
every day.
I've been trying ever since we got married.
Well, the first couple of years just made me cry every day.
Yeah. Because you like crying.
I am so pumped that the whole world will get to hear your laugh on this podcast.
Stop it.
I have a recording of just your laugh that in the right moments I just pull it out. It's just great. Doesn't she have the best laugh?
She has the best laugh.
I'm
So what I
sorry.
do is I count the ha-ha-has to see how good it is. And if I get over 5, if it goes to 2 hands, I hit a home run.
It's really true. He's
Yeah.
been counting the ha-has for, I don't even know, 10 years.
She's going to say a couple years. No, 30 years.
Oh.
Okay, so you're supposed to answer
I
and
did.
say something good about me.
Oh, I did say
No,
something
I
good about you.
said something good about me. That I make you laugh every day.
I was actually going to point that out, that Dad picked his own thing for
Well,
you, but did you have something else?
He jumped in and beat me to the punch, but I was going to say that I love it that he really tries hard to make me laugh every day.
I really try hard. So, translated means sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
We
Just
all
as
know
a-
that's true.
Just as little parameters for this conversation, this isn't marriage counseling. It's just, marriage chatting. So, although it kind of feels like it in this room.
That's funny.
Okay, so Dad, yours for Mom?
Okay, so I'm picking the number one thing I love about your mom
Right now, just in this season.
right now. One.
That's why it's so hard, Bree. We've been married so long. I just love so many things about him.
I know, but we're going to talk about different seasons and different things you loved and maybe didn't love.
I know.
But right now,
The number one thing that I love is that she is willing and eager to respond to my leadership. Like at 3 o'clock in the morning when she's vibrating the walls of the room.
Hang on.
And I give her a little tap. She responds immediately and turns over, and the
are you
shades.
taking an opportunity to bless your wife by throwing
It
her
feels
under
like
a
a
bus?
gig.
That's just to try to make the audience laugh. The number one thing I love about your mom has been and always will be her sweet spirit. So she's always sweet, always kind. Believes the best, hopes the best. So 1 Corinthians 13, right here. She hopes all things, believes all things. That's my number one. Now, I'm done joking. I'm not going to joke about snoring, but maybe a couple more times. But seriously, you have a very sweet. You are the definition of inner and outer beauty, gentle and quiet spirit.
Thank you.
I would totally agree. The amount of times that mom has helped me remember what love is, and it believes all things and hopes all things, endures all things. When I don't
Yes.
want to, she still is. So that's good. Really good. So let's go back to the beginning, okay? I want to hear. Actually, I think, Mom, you tell this story super well, but how did you guys first meet? What was the interaction like? First impression of Dad.
Okay, so I moved to Decatur, Illinois. This is going way back, and went to church at Tabernacle Baptist Church, and met him at church, actually.
That was really short.
Yeah, you have to give us the context of the friend group. There's so much more. Come on, this is podcast. Tell us all the details.
So he was dating someone else, and I actually was interested in his best friend. And so his best friend went to that church, and we went to that church, and Jeff's family went to that church. So I think you were with your girlfriend when we met at church. So got to know his family. Didn't get to know him very well because he was maybe a little reserved. That's not quite the word I wanted to use.
Are you trying to
but-
say standoffish?
Yes.
What?
I was trying to think of a good word for that. So we didn't actually go to high school together. He was already graduated by the time I moved there. But
And two grades ahead.
but his brother Eric was in the same grade as me and was in my friend group. So got to know Jeff's family before I really got to know Jeff. So met him, and then we didn't start dating until 4 years later, probably, because he had this other girl that we all thought he was going to marry, and he did not marry her.
4 years?
he
2
married
years
me.
later. I think 2 years later, wasn't it? Some years later.
Some years later. And you can pull that microphone and twist it more if you want to look that direction so we can hear you. Yeah, perfect. So you met when you were in high school.
Yes.
He was already graduated. You're
Yes.
best friends with his little brother.
Yes.
And his little
Well-
brother had a crush on your best friend.
Well, his
Right?
little brother was dating one of my best friends at the time. It's a love triangle. I really
I
don't need to go into
know.
all these details.
It's just funny. Basically, what happened is you and the little brother and the best friend and dad all ended up together. So 2 high school best friends with their best guy friend and the older brother. It's like a friend group forever.
Yes, forever. We're forever friends.
It's really cute.
Yeah.
So Dad was dating somebody when you first met.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember when you first met Mom?
I do.
What was your impression?
Well, I've always been a one-woman man, so whoever I was dating, I was exclusive. I wasn't like a lot of my buddies. So I didn't allow myself to be attracted or to, say things or flirt or anything. I just don't roll that way. So what I remember is you were at church with your mom and your little sister, and your dad hadn't moved to town yet. So they were trying to reconcile their marriage again, and her dad was the problem, and he hadn't moved there yet, and you all were kind of scoping, running everything and trying to find out where to connect, and you were visiting churches and came and visited the church. So
Well, he actually had moved to Decatur before we did
he did first. Okay.
and lived there.
I got it backwards.
Yeah.
So I don't remember him being there, though. I don't ever remember him being at church. But anyway, so what I remember is we were on the left section, 4 sections of the sanctuary, as it was called in those days, and I think we were already sitting before the service started, and you came in. Her mom and her sister came in, and Jerry, my buddy, introduced me because he'd already met you at school, right?
Right.
So introduced me, new girl at town. So he was a very friendly, gregarious guy, and so he was trying to build a bridge for her to make connections. But I was already in junior college, so I was already out of school, and so it was just kind of a meet and greet and welcome to town, glad you're here type thing.
So then I started high school there in Decatur, Illinois, and he was 2 years ahead of me. So he actually, in his school year, he was voted best looking in our high school. So he was
Oh.
very well known, and everyone, mentioned Jeff Klingenberg. And so I had met him at church, so I knew his family. So I thought, wow, I'm in the right crowd of people here if I'm hanging around with the crowd that knows the best looking guy in the school.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward to you were interested in his best friend. Obviously, they didn't work out. So at what point and what did it look like where you were single and he was single?
So I go to a college and at Southwest Baptist College, which is 8 hours away from Illinois. In the meantime, he's living his life. I'm living my life. Come back for summer break, and our singles, I guess, was it called singles or college and career?
College and career.
It's called College and Career Group. Went out after church on Sunday night to Pizza Hut, and I was sitting at a round table, and then we had all the long tables down. So I'm here. Sorry. I'm at the round table here, and he's at the long table here. So our shoulders are kind of together, but I'm looking at my friends, and he's down there with his friends.
And were you doing this intentionally? Like,
No.
were you? Okay.
No, it just fell
We
together.
just fell that way.
That she was sitting like right here, and I was sitting like right here.
Yeah, I got
so
it.
she literally was right
Over your shoulder.
there.
Facing the other direction.
Yeah.
Kinda, yeah. I mean,
Yes. So
three-quarter.
we're all chatting, and then he leans over and he said, "Hey, are you dating anybody?"
Are you seeing anybody?
Wait, what
Hey,
inspired
are you
that?
dating anybody? Huh?
What inspired that? When did you take interest?
Well, so that morning in church, we were in the hallway talking, and I had broken up, and she had broken up, so we were both available. So she came up at the drinking fountain and gave me this full-on aggressive hug all the way around. I mean,
That is
All
not.
this time, I thought Dad made the first move.
He did. That happened
Now I
later.
know.
That happened later. That didn't happen that
I
morning.
think that's what got it started.
Wait, so who
in here, let's
actually?
have a party.
Who
in
actually
here.
made the first move?
him.
I did. This is Pizza Hut.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, he's just trying to embarrass me.
I'm not. I'm having fun. I'm not putting you down.
So we're sitting at the Pizza Hut table, and he leans over and he says, "Hey, are you dating anybody?" And I said, "No." And he said, "We'll have to do something about that, won't we?"
Ooh, so
So I
smooth.
smiled.
That was me and the little mouse in my pocket.
So I turned back around, and all my little girlfriends were like, because
Yeah.
he was like it. He was the goat.
Whoa.
So you got to understand. You got to understand.
These are monumental moments.
Not a
This
big
people
town
don't even
in
know.
not a significant area. Lots of farm-fed fellas around this town, and it was pretty desperate. It was pretty desperate for trying to find somebody to pick to be best looking.
No, it wasn't at all. Don't put yourself down.
Okay, all right. I won the vote 100 to nothing.
No one else is even in the running. So
So, and then I don't remember what happened after that. Did we talk after the?
That was it. History was made. It was a done deal. No.
So then
We started dating. We dated that summer.
first date.
Fox and the Hound.
So we double dated with his brother Eric and Gay Lee, who was my best friend.
So
So-
me and my little brother have always, well, not always. We got close. We weren't close during high school, but we got close during college and became best friends. So
So Gay Lee and I always loved to joke that we dated pairs of brothers until we found a pair that we both liked. And so because we actually did date other brothers.
No way.
We did.
You were those friends.
We were. And so we double dated. Eric and Gay and Jeff and I went to see The Fox and the Hound, and then we went to Top's Big Boy. Is that what it's called?
I think so.
Yeah. And we laughed so
Got
hard.
root beer
we were
floats.
crying. We had a great evening.
Yeah.
So that was it. Now we're all married. There you go.
So at what point in your dating relationship, how long did it take you to realize this is probably my person?
It took Jeff about 3 years.
Yeah.
We'll get to that later. We'll get to that later.
That's kind of jumping ahead.
Yeah. But for you, I guess, Mom, when did you have that moment of like, yeah, this is it. I'm done dating.
Oof. I don't really know. I'd have to really think about that. We dated and broke up.
Was it that summer?
No, we dated that summer, and then I went back to school.
Because that next school year, you dated the basketball player, the tennis player, the exotic kid from Brazil or something, and
Wait,
Tennis player.
can I just
Stop.
insert a little story? I just feel like it's worth mentioning. We were cleaning out some stuff. Mom is very sentimental and holds on to things that mean something to her, which is funny and beautiful. And one of those things that we found when we were cleaning out Mom's things, this is at Grandma's house, right?
Grandma had a box of all my stuff.
All of her stuff from college and high school. She had her calendar in there, just your classic, hang up on the wall calendar. And on the calendar, she had Jim called today, going out with Bob later, and
Yep.
literally all these dates, actual dates on her calendar, penciled in throughout the week. I was
Yep.
like, Mom, you played the field.
She
like,
was a player.
Stop it.
really proud of you. Good job. Well, so what's your philosophy on dating? It's kind of a hot topic, and we actually were just talking about this last night of what is like the biblical perspective of dating, or how should you date? Some people think dating is crazy, just get to know somebody, be their friend. If you like them, then, go from there. And other people think, go on dates. It doesn't matter how well you know them, just get out there, go on dates. What is y'all's opinion? I know it's a different culture right now and it's crazy, but
Right.
having lived, you dated a lot and you were more of a one-woman man. You dated selectively and
Right.
kind of were in long-term relationships and all that.
I can probably name on one hand the number of girls I dated.
That's true. I did.
Mom can't even remember all their names.
I
That's
can't.
right. She can't. What was the tennis player's name?
We'll talk more about how awesome you are.
What was the
and
basketball
doing
player's name?
relationships later.
Stop
Sam.
it. Stop. So, yes, of course, in my younger days, I dated a lot of different people. I never had really any serious relationships because of what I went through with my mom and my dad. I made a determination that no man would ever tell me what to do. And so anytime I dated someone long enough where they started feeling like they could control me or tell me anything, I would break up with them and move on to someone else. So,
Classic.
yeah. So then in college, after we started dating, we dated one summer, and then I went back to school, and then came back the next summer. We started dating that summer. It was probably the summer that we got serious. We started dating regularly and started.
That was before your junior year, right?
Yes, the summer
And
before my junior
after my
college.
senior year,
Yes.
when I was back for my leftover
Yeah.
semester.
Correct. And so I had gone through all these just meaningless dates and nobody I was really interested in. And the Lord just put Jeff on my heart. And Jeff really invested in me, started talking to me about what was God's plan for my life. Had I talked to the Lord about it and what he saw in me and encouraged me, because I was fixing to drop out of college. I'd been 2 years, didn't really know what I was doing, where I was going, had no plan for the future. And I was like, why am I wasting all this money? I have a good job. I come back to every summer. I'm just going to work. And he just started speaking God things into my life and really encouraging me. And I never met anyone who cared more about my relationship with the Lord than my relationship with them, because all the other people I had dated just cared because
They
thought I was cute
they
or-
they were after your beautiful bod.
or something like that, and didn't really care about me as a person. And he cared about my spiritual life. And so that was mind-boggling to me, to have a guy who cared more about my relationship with the Lord and God's plan for my future than anything else. And that's what really won my heart.
Are
So,
you? Mom's getting emotional. It's
yeah.
really cute.
So let me take over, because the way she cut that word "heart" off, I know that the emotion has come up and it's right here. It's trying to make it to her eyes, so I'm going to help it get back down. Philosophy on dating. So our philosophy on dating back in the day was just date whoever if you think there's a possibility at all, any interest at all, or think you could have a fun time. Like she liked to date guys that danced, so anybody that would ask her to go to a dance.
I'm sorry, what?
I just grabbed something that was flying around out there.
I was like, wow, we're more alike than I thought. Just kidding.
And
Except for I'm pretty sure I made you dance with me. Anyway,
but what we formed later was the importance of having a long-term perspective. In other words, if the person was not a believer, we wouldn't date them, because then if they chose to never become a believer in Christ, then there's going to be an unequal yoking, and that's really hard to have a good marriage that way. And the Bible talks about that not working. So our philosophy, I think, to a degree, was date for fun, have fun. Just it was very, very casual. But then we switched to friendship taking a more prominent and more important place. And then friendship then could lead to, as you begin to seek the Lord, it could lead to then the moving toward permanence. That describe it, you think?
Well, I think it changed for me. I went from dating just whatever, whoever, just for fun, to recognizing who I am in the Lord, because it was my junior year in college when the Lord really got a hold of my life. And I decided I was tired of all those meaningless relationships, and if I couldn't find a guy who wanted to pursue the Lord, then I would just stay single. So I stopped dating and just pursued the Lord. I was involved in ministry, discipleship, all kinds of things to just you know, to be all that God had called me to be. And so I dated a couple of different guys who just were not as interested in going to church or moving forward in the Lord as I was. And so I was like, I choose the Lord over this relationship. And so I just felt like the Lord just put a protection around me of just be at peace in Him, rest in who I am in Him, and just let Him continue to work in my life. And so then when Dad and I started dating, and then he met all those, you know, those things that the Lord put on my heart to look for in a relationship. And even when we started dating seriously, and he let me know he cared for me and wanted to pursue a relationship, he said to me, listen, I'm not going to kiss you because we're not going to bring in, you know, physical things in the relationship, because sometimes that throws things off, because we wanted to pursue the Lord and hear the Lord together. And
Right.
so if you get involved sometimes, you know, with, you know, physical things can make you push away from the Lord. So
Yeah.
we dated
or
for
distract you.
or distract you. That's what I
And
meant.
kills communication.
Yeah.
And physical kills the soulish and the emotional side.
Right.
Well, and Dad was like super saved at this moment.
Yes,
Right?
he
Like
was.
on fire for the Lord. We'll
Yeah.
talk about that later.
Yeah.
We'll get there
Super
next.
saved.
Yeah.
So I think we both were at that place in our relationship with the Lord of being super saved and
Yeah.
really protecting everything that we could just to pursue the Lord. Anyway, so we started seeing each other, and so we dated for about 2 weeks. So he said as we started dating, you know, I'm not going to kiss you, all those things. So then 2 weeks into the relationship, he walks me to the door one night and he goes, you know what I said about not kissing you? And I said, yeah. He goes, I'm going to kiss you. I was like,
Wow.
okay.
14 days. That's a good
and that was
result.
history. So there you
Well,
go.
she wore this lip gloss.
No, I understand. No need to add any
So-
detail.
Don't add any details. This
No
is a
need.
G-rated podcast.
Wow.
Goodness. Why would you think I'd go there? Because I have
know
before.
you.
Because she has been married to you for how many years?
Almost 39 years.
Coming up.
Yeah, 39.
June 2nd.
And we dated off and on for 3 or 4.
3.
So, wow, we're at 42 years. It's
Yeah.
hard to believe.
So I say super saved because from your perspective, you were dating someone seriously in the middle of that relationship, if I remember it correctly. The Lord got a hold of your life as well.
Mhm.
So you can catch us up a little bit to your story of getting to your new resolve when you're dating, why you changed.
My new resolve?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wanted to have a marriage, and I wanted to have a relationship based upon the Lord, because I knew I was messed up, and I knew whoever I would marry would have some mess up too, and I knew I didn't want to be a statistic, and I knew in Dawn's situation, she had come from divorce, which quite often makes it easier for divorce to happen. Not always, but sometimes once you've experienced it and you realize you lived through it, then sometimes that makes it easier to go into it. And but thank God, her and her brother and sister are all still married, and so praise the Lord that the chain was broken. So what am I answering? I forgot.
Well, so I made a joke about you being super saved,
Oh,
but
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
Lord captured up your heart
Yeah.
before you and Mom started dating.
Yeah, so I wasn't really living for the Lord the way that I do now, the way I live now. Even in my first long-term relationship, and then I can't remember if my encounters with God had happened prior to us meeting or prior to.
Not before we met, but before we dated. Yeah.
Yeah, so
You'd-
after we met, but before
Keith
we
Green
dated.
concert in
Yeah, great.
Florida and all that.
So I had determined I was going to live for the Lord, and I didn't want to mess things up and have soul ties. I think have we talked about soul
Yeah, we
ties
have.
in one of the podcasts? Yeah, I didn't want to have soul ties unnecessarily and hurt somebody. So deep down inside, I'm seeing harsh on the outside sometimes, or driven, or bulldozer in my forehead type thing, but really I've got butter for a heart. I'm a softie on the inside. So I did not want to hurt her.
Mm-hmm.
And so super saved, yeah, but it was spiritual, but it was also emotional. And in the soulish realm, I wanted to make sure that I did right by her,
Yeah.
because I knew she'd already been hurt by her dad. And I
Yeah.
didn't want to, and I knew she'd had a bunch of guys after her, and I knew their motives weren't pure. And so I knew she had not experienced the respect that she needed to experience, and I knew she hadn't experienced unconditional love. And so that's what the Lord put on my heart, was to try to love Dawn with unconditional. She didn't have to perform to get my love. So she didn't have to, I didn't want her to have to be something that she really wasn't in order to try to get me. To me, that's shallow. So we kept it as clean as we could emotionally, for the sake of just keeping the fog and the craziness that comes from trying to impress somebody, trying to be somebody you're not. We just tried to get all that out.
Yeah. Were you being mentored by somebody that helped you see how to do that?
No,
So that all of that just came from your surrender to the Lord.
and then just from quiet times,
That's awesome.
just from studying Proverbs and just understanding out of the epistles what love is supposed to look like.
But now, looking back, you probably see a value in older men directing younger men
Oh yeah,
to learn that. Because someone said to me recently that not every man has the natural instinct to protect and love. Some have to learn that. Their
Exactly.
instincts are different. They're more success driven or business driven, and there has to kind of be this balance. So it sounds like for you that came naturally. But for some who don't, that they can seek out older men who that does come naturally, or they learned it, and then they can start applying it to their life. That they don't have to just be who they are and be limited by what they're naturally good at, but can expand and date well and love well and lead well.
It all comes down to choices, don't you think? Excuse me.
Yeah.
did I communicate that accurately from what you remember? Okay, because we have different. You misremember stuff, and so I just want to be sure.
So, y'all start dating, and I'm going to kind of try to, I know the story, but I know there's more to the story. So if I miss something and you want to, put that in the story, please do. But you started dating, and you dated for the semester. Summer came, and that's when y'all did your first breakup?
No, we dated in the summer because I was away at college, and
Okay.
he was still in Illinois.
So
I was
dated
in
for the
Missouri.
summer. First breakup was after the end of that summer,
Correct.
and then
And why was that?
I don't remember. Do you remember?
Who called it off?
What did I say? What did I do? You remember? Obviously, tell it.
Well, I mean, it was so long ago; it doesn't even matter.
It
anymore.
does for the story. The people need to know the truth. Mom.
It is captured inside the memory banks of that superior intelligence brain right there.
So let's understand.
I think it was just the timing of the Lord, and the timing of where we were in life.
What was the reason, though?
I was ready to go back to college and didn't want
And play
to
the field.
have to continue a long distance relationship. I mean, remember back in that day, there were no cell phones. There were no. It was either writing letters or trying to come home.
Or literally paying
Long distance
for
phone
long distance
calls.
phone calls. You had to pay for them.
Yeah, you used to have to pay for those. There was like one phone in the hall. You didn't have phones in your rooms. It was a different world.
That's awesome.
So 8 hours away was a whole lifetime away because
Yeah.
you just couldn't communicate.
So it was out of necessity in order to not hurt each other by being so far apart so often.
Yeah, I didn't want to
Right.
try it, a long distance relationship, because he had a long distance relationship and it ended. And I was like, I don't think I want to invest in this. So I was ready to go back to school and just go back to life.
Yeah, my high school girlfriend carried into my first 2 years of college girlfriend, first year. I forget. And then she had a change of heart. We were 4 hours away, me and one state college and her in another one. And so that we ended up breaking up, and that was weird. It was weird because of what distance did and trying to keep it. Today it'd be much easier to have a long distance relationship.
Yeah.
Then it was very difficult.
Yeah.
So would you say that love wasn't really present, like that I know you're my person kind of love that wasn't really present in your first go around?
It wasn't, and probably neither one of us were ready for it. We both had things that we needed to work on, and that the Lord needed to work in us that we didn't even know. So broke up after that first summer, went back to college, came back the next summer, and then that was the whole Pizza Hut scene and all that when we started seriously dating. So, but
And then that one lasted until I came to seminary, right?
oh yeah, he came to seminary.
Yeah, so I was about to move 13, 14 hours away to come to graduate school. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't want to try the long distance relationship. And so I broke up with her. This is funny. You're going to have to tell the...
I'm happy to tell it. Go ahead.
I broke up with her. And the whole drive down, I thought that was probably one of the stupidest things you've ever done, Jeff. But I held to it because I didn't want to seem wishy-washy. But
Sure.
So anyway,
So he told me he didn't believe in long distance relationships and he was going to move to Texas and that would be it. And I said, okay. So I'm still home, get to college. And when I got to, we lived in the Baptist Student Center when we were in college at Southern Illinois University. And I go to my mailbox and there's already like 2 or 3 letters in there from him telling me about his transition to Texas and what he'd been doing, all kinds of stuff. And I got the mail and I was like, oh, yeah, we're not having a long distance relationship.
I told her I wanted to be special friends.
Yeah, we were special
What?
friends in college.
Special
So you-
friends was beyond casual dating and beyond a commitment. So it's kind of like you could keep everybody else away, but you weren't obligated.
We probably
So
should
I think
back
that would
up.
be like open relationship now, or like you can date other people, but I still like you.
No.
kind
No,
of.
that's not what
special.
it meant, according to him. So let's back up to college.
Oh, here we
So after my sophomore year of college, when I said I wasn't going back to college, and he started really encouraging me to pray and hear the Lord on my future and all that, he encouraged me to go to SIU, which happened to be where he went to school. So that's where I went my last few years of college and graduated from, got my degree in psychology from SIU, and Jeff was there.
Because there was a very dynamic church there that
Yes.
did a powerful job working with college students.
Really, it changed our lives, Murdale Baptist Church.
So
And so we're in college together, and we don't date. We're special friends. So here's what special friends means. It means
meant. I don't think it's around today anymore.
So it wasn't like he broke up with you and said we can't date, but we can be special friends. It was
Yes,
like it
he
was
would-
like he
yes.
broke up with you. Time went by, and then he reached back out and said, "I can't date you still, but I want to be your special friend."
yes. He would
Okay,
say we're
got
not
it.
dating, but we'll be special friends. What special friends means or meant was that we still did everything together, but I paid for myself and he paid for himself.
That is a special friend.
And there was
Very special.
no touching, no kissing, no
No
affection.
anything, and yet when other guys would say to him, "Hey, you and Don aren't dating," he would say, "No, we're special friends." And they say, "Great, I'm going to ask her out. She won't go out with you.
Well, I knew.
She doesn't want to date you."
I knew there was 2 guys. I knew I knew there was no way she'd go out with these guys, and her letdown wasn't easy. It would just be, "No, I'm not interested," and they'd be crushed. And I knew both
You
of them
wonder
were.
where you get that from?
Man,
I
apple
knew
does not
both
fall
of them
far
were
from that
sensitive
tree.
heart guys, and it would crush them. And so I saved them from having a bloody mud puddle for a heart.
I'm sure that was your motivation
It
back
was.
then.
It was very graphic.
I believe my motives were noble.
I don't think it's a hard no. I think it's the clarity they're not ready for. You know,
Right.
straightforward. Just why
Yeah.
be confused?
Right.
Not interested. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Anyway, so continue.
So that was my college experience.
Well,
was
we're up to
him.
I'm in Texas. You're in Illinois.
He goes to Texas. I'm in Illinois, and we just are writing letters and then seeing each other on the holidays or summer.
and then you
I
graduate from
graduated
college
in
and go
August.
to the pastor and ask him what you should do.
True.
And he says you should move to Fort Worth, Texas, enroll in graduate school, and support your husband through seminary.
He actually said that to me. So
That is a good pastor right there.
Because
Yeah.
he saw it.
Yeah.
He saw. Man, I got a frog in my throat that keeps
So
jumping
at this
all over the
point
place.
in your love story, that kind of love was present, and you were both either ignoring or ignorant of it.
Yes.
yes, we were both struggling with it all, for our own reasons. I mean, my dad had an affair. He'd abandoned our family. I had made a bunch of
A vow.
vows of like, no man will ever tell me what to do. And do you know your dad? He has an opinion on everything. So it's God's sense of humor.
And the gift of leadership.
So as I said, God had to work a lot of things in both of our lives. So then I came to seminary to get my master's in marriage and family counseling. He was already here working on his master's in theology,
Divinity. Yeah.
and I was in August, and his parents and family was all here to visit him, and so they were very kind and took me with them to eat and do different things.
They saw it too.
And as soon as
Yeah.
his family left, he came over to my apartment and he said, "Okay, listen. First off, I want to say I'm sorry for all the times I hurt you. I want to ask your forgiveness. I really believe that we should be together, and I want us to start dating again with a view towards getting married." And I was like, "Okay."
Well, no, you said let me think about it.
I did say, "Let me think about
Yeah.
it."
you
I was
made
trying
him
to be
sweat it
nice.
out. You trying to be nice? I thought you were trying to like make him
She
sweat
said
it out.
let me think about it. I'm like, oh wow, that last breakup really hurt her so bad
That's true.
that I'm not going to be able to retrieve this.
Which is probably, good for you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because when
Yeah.
he came to seminary, he dated a bunch of different girls too, and
Oh.
he had some girls. One girl in particular that said,
3. I had 3 dates.
"My
Oh.
mama always told me I was going to marry a preacher."
On the first date.
So was there a second date?
No. No. Anybody that tells me we're sitting on the stairs of the main building of the seminary just talking, just getting to know each other. And she just throws out, she's looking at me with, what do we call it? Eyes of desire? So she's just looking at me with,
Okay, I feel like I need to give context to that term so that people don't think our family is just so strange. Jonathan and Addie were, they're going to think we're strange
We are
anyway.
strange.
We
yeah,
are.
we
but
are strange. Every family's strange.
Totally. But Jonathan came up with that phrase because he was trying to, make jokes towards Addie, and then it just took in our family. So, context, Jonathan is to blame for that phrase.
Yeah.
I don't even remember that girl's name. Do you remember her name?
No.
I remember she's from one of the Carolinas. Anyway, we're sitting there talking, and
One of the Carolinas.
she says, "Oh, my mama always told me I was going to marry a preacher." And she just looked at me and smiled, and I went, "It ain't going to be me. It ain't going to be me. I believe I'm supposed to be the one taking the lead here and not being backed into a corner to agree to a proposal." So, man.
So there was on again, off again, really complicated. Both of you growing in a relationship with the Lord. Both of you had multiple people on the in-betweens and the ins and outs. All of that to give hope to people who have had a adventuresome dating relationship
That's
with the
awesome.
person that they're supposed to do life with. That at the end of the day, I know you don't believe in like one person, but you do believe in God's sovereignty and Him leading and directing your life, and He
Correct.
directs the steps of the righteous. And He directed y'all's steps back together, like
Correct.
whether it was through people or
Right.
seasons or life.
Right.
He obviously wanted you
Right.
guys
Yeah.
to do life together.
Yep.
Yeah. So let me back up to college when Jeff was at SIU. Again, he's older than I am, so he graduated before I did. But the time that he was there and we were there at the same time, we served on a ministry team together. So he would preach, and then I played the piano and sang. And there were
I sang too. Remember, I was the bass.
that's true.
You were the alto.
So there were 6 or 8 of us on the team, and we went out every weekend and ministered. And so that really drew our hearts together too, is that we were serving the Lord together, and we were seeing life change happening, and all the things that are really foundational of who we became as a couple started even way back in the day of us being on this ministry team together and serving the Lord together.
I love that.
So in Southern Illinois, there, even the town where the college is only 25,000 people, I think. And then there are hundreds, if not thousands, of small towns of 200 to 2,000.
Mm-hmm.
And almost every one of them had a Baptist church. And we were Baptists at that point. And almost every one of those Baptist church had a youth group, or they would combine with youth groups from other churches in other small towns. And they would ask the college kids to come do a weekend,
Like a D now.
Yeah,
like
kind
a,
of.
like a disciple now.
We
What were
did
they
lock-ins
called?
rallies.
Yeah.
Yeah. all kinds of
Anyway,
youth stuff.
so every weekend, one semester I was only at our home church twice.
Yeah.
Of course,
So
two
cool.
for spring break, and then two LSAS. So how many are in a semester? How many weeks is a semester? 16.
That's too many details and too much math.
So 12 weeks in a semester. 12 weekends we were out ministering.
I don't know if you remember my score for the ACT, but it was only just good enough. It wasn't great. So, okay.
Mine wasn't good enough.
So what I love that you're kind of saying without saying though is that whenever you're finding a spouse and you're dating, you're looking for like what Scripture says, a helpmate, a companion, someone who's on the same trajectory with their life. It's
Correct.
not that you go like hunting for it, but you do what you're called to do, and then in that realm, whoever is also called to do the same thing are
Yeah.
probably people you could do life with.
Yeah.
You could possibly date.
Yeah. So there's this illustration that was very popular back in the day, talking about when God created Adam and
Yeah.
brought the animals along 2 by 2, and there was
Uh-huh.
corresponding for every animal. And Adam's looking around, going, "What about me?" And so he puts him to sleep, and he takes Eve, makes Eve out of his rib. That Adam was asleep in the Lord when God brought his mate to him.
Yeah.
And so what they would translate to us was that when we're asleep in the Lord, resting in the Lord, just totally immersed in God's presence, then he'll take care of all those other details of our lives, including bringing the person
Yeah.
that we're supposed to spend our life with.
Yeah.
So instead of going out hunting and looking and searching and making your list and checking it twice and all that kind of stuff, just find out who you are in the Lord and
Yeah.
get into that, and then just let the Lord bring all these things shall be added unto
Yeah.
you. Seek
Yeah.
first the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
So,
But
that
I would agree with that 100%. But I would add, there's nothing wrong with going to places where you can meet other like-minded people.
true.
So I would encourage going to other church single groups, as long as it's not a meat market, because sometimes that's the case and it drives me crazy. I would encourage going to Passion and going to things like that to make connections.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's different than what I experienced a lot in college was almost like if I can insert a little bit of my own, dating experiences, is the people who wanted me to help them figure out for themselves who they were called to be. Like they wanted me to come in because I knew who I was in the Lord. I
Right.
know who I am in the Lord. They wanted me to help them figure that out. I'm like, no, you need to figure that out because I can't
Right.
tell you that. You have to know that from the Lord first. If I tell you that, then it's my opinion. But that could change. You have to know. You have to have a word for your own life.
Right.
And so that's a lot of times why things would be uneven or hard or difficult or awkward because they were seeking out someone to rescue them, to
Right.
tell them what their life should be like, to solve their life calling problems. I'm like, no,
Right.
your helpmate helps you get stronger, but you need to be strong individually.
Right. And I think that's why, like with us dating and breaking up those 3 years before we finally committed to each other, was the Lord working those kinds of things in our hearts about ourselves. Because we're not perfect. We come from imperfect families where nobody is perfect. So if you're looking for that perfect person, you're
Doesn't
never going to
exist.
find them. You have to be the
Yeah.
person that will attract someone like that by knowing who you are in the Lord, being strong in your faith, reading the word, being a person of prayer and worshiping the Lord, things that are eternal, invest in eternal things, and then trust the Lord with the details.
Yeah. I think the only reason people get lost in relationships is because they never really knew who they were to begin with.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's wrong to, and I didn't go into a relationship with Dawn for her to complete me. And she
Right.
didn't come into a relationship with me for me to complete her. We came into the relationship first as friends. And ultimately, just for everyone watching or listening, you end up being friends anyway, or you end up being enemies.
Right.
And so at some point, you've got to
Frenemies.
stand.
Depends on what day it is.
Yeah, that's
Hate to
true.
love you, love to hate you.
Amazing what hormones do. And laughter from behind the screens over here. That's awesome.
This term special friends is just really developing a whole new perspective.
But friendship will carry you.
Yeah. That's true.
Friendship has carried us through our differences, our viewpoint variations, etc. And that's what it boils down to anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, the old rock and roll song "Life in the Fast Lane." We had one thing in common: we were good in bed. Well, that doesn't carry a relationship. It's icing on the cake of a good relationship. Friendship is what carries a relationship.
Yeah.
And so that's, by the grace of God, that's what we formed. We formed a friendship during those times of ministry.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about, people asking you questions on how to complete them or help them find who they are. We didn't really need to do that because we were more interested in friendship and serving God together, and that's what allowed us to make the connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.